Hey folks, it's Nick Granville. So I thought today I'd talk about guitar maintenance, and this is something that I do every time I work on my guitars. So these are the things you're going to need. Strings. I use Elixir 11 to 49, so use whatever you like. Masking tape. This is just blue painter's tape, whichever. String winder. I use this Diodario thing that I've had for ages. It's got a cutter on the end and a winder on the end. Use whatever. Autosol, which is metal polish, cutters and pliers, and a rag. First thing, take the strings off. You have to excuse my messy garage. Wind them up so nobody stabs himself with them. Throw it in the bin. Forgot to add lemon oil. Need it. Makes a big difference. So I'm down to one string. Now when I take the last string off, what I do is I just put a bit of tape across this to stop anything moving. So there you have it, all 6 strings are off. I'm ready to get started. Now normally when I do guitar maintenance, I just will give it a clean, put some new strings on and go. But this is what I do every so often, right? Oh, and I definitely put some pencil lead in the nut, but we'll talk about that later on. But about once every 6 months I do a fret work like this. I'll show you how this goes. First step, take a clean rag and just give everything a wipe down. Get rid of any dust and crap that accumulates in there. Like I said, I tape down the bridge so it doesn't move. Don't want it to fall off or move or change anything. Give the fretboard a little bit of a clean. Give this a clean up here on the headstock. All basic kind of stuff, right? Then, what I do is I take some tape, because I'm going to do a fret buff on this, a fret polish with Autosol, which is what I use. Use whatever you've got. It's just a metal polish and tape. So what I want to do is tape off each fret. I'll show you how that works. Let's take a bit of tape. Put it next to the fret like that. Another bit of tape on the other side. And there. Oop. And there you have one fret taped off, right? And I'll do the whole fretboard. Now when you get to the smaller frets like this, it gets harder. You can see it's starting to ride over the top of the fret. So all I do is take a scalpel and just run it along there carefully and remove the extra tape. Like so. Okay, so now we're at that point, all taped off. You don't have to tape it off, but the problem is I've done it once, especially on a maple fretboard. This stuff will get into the pores of the fretboard, and it's really hard to get out, and it looks like crap. So it's a really good idea to tape it off. You can get different things to do it, but tape. This is like $6, $7, $8. So easy, just tape it off. And it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be good enough to protect it, right? Like I said, I don't do this every time, I do this about once every 6 months. Next step, take a new clean cloth. You can use a Dremel for this. I have a Dremel tool, but I don't like to use it. I much prefer just to do it by hand. The Dremel can be quite aggressive, and I have found with a Dremel tool that it will actually cut through the tape sometimes if you're not careful, or have marked guitars. So just cloth in your finger, it works perfectly fine. All you do, put a little bit like that on the end of a cloth, and let's just do that fret right there. And look at how much came off that fret. Particularly get the ends. Right, let's look at that. There's the one I did. Look at how shiny it is, and it's super smooth. When you're playing, you might think, oh, it doesn't make that much difference to do frets, but it makes a massive difference, because all of a sudden now your strings, when you bend, they're not catching anything, they're just kind of sliding over it, and the whole guitar just plays more slick. So I'll finish the rest and I'll come back to you. Okay, so that's done. They're all shiny, looking good. Right, so look at how much came off. All that came off those frets. Now it's a mix of auto, sol, metal polish, plus that, but that's how much came off. Ridiculous, isn't it? Just muck. Right, and then I take tape off. I always like to leave the ends exposed like this, just so I can catch them and pull them off easy. Now, invariably, there'll be some that gets in the side. Don't worry about that. We're going to use lemon oil to polish it up afterwards, but just take the tape off. Now, I should say, if any of your frets have got little dips and stuff in them, they possibly need to be replaced. Take it to a luthier, but if it's just slightly, what I do is I get a little bit of sandpaper. I get a little bit of like a 600 grit or something like that, or a 1000 grit, and I just give it a light sand, which is a little more aggressive than the polish, but the difference is that it just will kind of smooth it over. But be very careful about that. You don't want to be doing that unless you know what you're doing, because you very easily take the fret too far and now you've wrecked it. So just, yeah, watch that. Alright, so I got all the tape off. I had to use a pair of pliers because it kind of got down there. What I like to do next is just take a cloth, and if there's any bits of that auto sol that's kind of got around the edges of the frets, you see you can still pick some off. I usually wipe that off, so I'll do that now. Okay, so that's all done. It's looking really good. Cleaned it all off. It's all ready. Bit of dust on there. So next step. Take a pencil, and I'm just going to put some lead into there. Just make sure there's some in there, right? And as you can see, the frets have come up nice and shiny and all ready to go. So at this point, I've done the frets. I've put some pencil lead in the nut slots, so we're ready to put some strings on. Now, in terms of strings, I use Elixir 11 to 49s, as I've talked about. Most people use 10s, they're totally fine. I like 11s, I like a bit more tension. Okay, kind of hard to just show this while filming, but I just take the string, put it through there, make sure it's in there. And I'll put it through the tuning peg. And you get to know this, but usually I leave about that much. Now, here's an important part of the equation. What I do is I wind the first wind over the top of the excess string, and then all the other ones underneath. And on the lowest string, I'm looking for about 2 or 3 below. On the next one, I want about 3 or 4 below. And that's it. Not too much on there, but just a little bit. And I just kink the string up a little bit like that. Then I take my cutters and I cut it off. Like so. And that little bit there, that's guaranteed to stab you. So I just take that and I just use my pliers or whatever, and I just kind of bend it down out of the way. Right, now, it's not going to stab me. Now, because I've got a single string on there, I can get rid of this. I don't need it anymore. And then repeat with all 6 strings. You know, like I said a minute ago, I do this about once every 6 months with the full fret like that. Full fret polish. But most of the time I just change my strings, and that's about it. I can do intonation myself. I generally don't. I take it to my tech to do, because they do that stuff all day, every day, and they're really good at it. And they'll get it more accurate than I will, with a lot less hassle. What'll take me an hour or 2 takes them like 5 or 10 minutes, because they're doing it more like 10-15 minutes, because they're doing it all day, every day. Whereas for me, I hardly ever do it. I only do it really when it's a problem, because most of the time they've set the guitar up for me. So if anybody's around the Tauranga area, we'll be playing. I'm playing on Friday with Jeffrey Caldwell, trumpet player. Duo gigs with some beat stuff, new electronic kind of sound that he's going for, and we're also playing some jazz standards. Just duo, trumpet and guitar. A bunch of good tunes in there. Alice in Wonderland, and probably Giant Steps, and probably All the Things You Are, those sorts of tunes. So nothing too taxing. And then my trio is playing with Darren Mathiasen and Michael Crawford. You'll have seen on YouTube some of those videos of Rock With You and all that sort of stuff that we do. We're playing Saturday at 4:30 at the Red Square stage, and then we're playing Sunday at Cornerstone, wherever that is. Both 4:30 to 6. So if you're in the area, come and hang and check it out. Yeah, so I'm just going to go through this and do the rest of the strings. This is what I do. If you're wondering what I put my guitar on, just a couple bits of pine that I glued together, and I put a bit of leather on there just so it's a bit softer on the neck. It's really handy to have this. I wish I'd made it higher, but works. I forgot to do this. Lemon oil. So I'm going to chuck that on now, just with a rag. It just hydrates your fretboard. It doesn't make any difference. It doesn't protect it anymore, I don't think, but it stops it from drying out. So I should have done that before. So I'm going to take the strings off, put some lemon oil on, and just give it a bit of a, go over with a rag and that, and just rub it in. Should have done it before. Okay, so lemon oil. I should have done it before. I don't have to take the strings fully off, I'll just take them off partially. A little bit on the end of the cloth and just rub it into the fretboard. You can see what a difference it makes. None. Lemon oil. And you don't need much. I haven't put any more on, it's just what it had on the cloth just then. Right. So make sure it's all coated, and then what I do is leave it for a minute, and then I'm going to wipe it off with a clean cloth once it's done, and that's it. Put the strings on. Alright, so I have the strings on now. It's all on, but I haven't tuned it or stretched it. I'll show you how that works. So this is ideally what we want. If you have a look at the D string there, you can see I've got a couple of winds, A and E, I've got a couple, and then the G, 3 or 4 underneath. That's about what I want. Alright, invariably crap just gets on your guitar. Look at this. Alright, so I like to give it a wipe with a general cloth, and then I'll show you how I tune it up and get it ready. Alright, so I've roughly tuned it. Right, nothing flashed there, just standard stuff. And what I do now is I take the string and I just kind of stretch it. And I grab it at different points and kind of pull it around gently. But I'm just stretching it behind the nut here, and then bring it back up to pitch. Again, stretch it a little bit. Until it holds tuning, right? And I'll do the same on the next string. And through all 6. Now I should say, with all this stuff, I never do this on the day of the gig. I find that even just that hand polishing thing, it's sort of hard on your hands and your fingers, and I find that if I do it on the day of the gig, it's like, it can wreck my hand. So I always do this like a couple of days before. So the next gig is on Friday, it's a Wednesday, a couple of days for the hands to heal. You can use a Dremel tool, like I said, it makes it much easier, but the potential risk is there. But if you're skilled and you know what to do, then use a Dremel. It's easier on your hands. But anyway, that's all stretched and ready to go, and then that's about it. So fret polish about once every 6 months. I do the pencil in the nut every time. I do the lemon oil every time, and new strings. The other thing I do is sometimes I'll give the pots and stuff a spray with electrical contact cleaner. Mine don't need it right now, but if they did, that would be one thing I'd do. Yeah. Okay, so new strings are on, I've tuned it up. Feels so much better, it's totally worth doing all of that. Good to go. So, I hope you found this useful. If you have, please subscribe to my channel. I post every day on YouTube. Yeah, enjoy doing this, and hopefully you enjoy watching and you've found some use out of this. If you have, subscribe. See you next time. Cheers.